sector operates at particular times and functions. So a good economist must time himself on what policies you want to put, because what is valid now may not be valid in the next period. So timing is one critical factor when you go into economic development, and His Excellency Pastor Moino has demonstrated that. I want to start with bringing of Bank of Industry branch into Akwa Ibom State. That development received appreciations in more professional quarters, because if you understand the functions of the development fund, Akwa Ibom State lacks capacity in issuing of development fund. So when you talk about development of entrepreneurship, without having multiple sources of development funds, you will not score any point, or you will not have any success, because you end up having very few development that is insignificant to the economy. In finance, we have what we call short-term sources and long-term sources of fund. And we have what we call, from short-term sources, we have commercial sources, and from long-term sources, we have development fund. So that's from commercial sources, we have commercial banks, which we have deposit money bank all over the state. One cardinal activities in commercial activities are trading. Trading is example of a commercial activities, and trading happens in short term. Buy and sell, decision to buy and sell is the shortest decision on earth or in economic sphere. So because of that, trading really source fund from short-term sources. So like commercial bank, they will not do anything outside short-term activities. So in generally, short-term activities uses short-term fund, long-term activities uses long-term fund. So because of that, the structure of financial institution in a given economy will be in that structure of long-term sources and structure of short-term sources. What cardinal activities that uses the long-term sources of fund is startup business. It's one of them. Road construction, all those things are using long-term sources of fund. So if as His Excellency comes out to say he wants to support entrepreneurship, business development, starting of business, growing of economy, particularly is talking about long-term use of money in long-term sources. So development, the word development has to do with long-term. So when you talk about that, when you make a policy statement, the next thing you have to look at the fund and sources. The only source of long-term fund is the government house. But government fund, public accounts, consolidated revenue accounts, or development fund is not enough to provide these long-term sources. You have to do something to attract other sources, long-term sources, into building the economy to get. So for the governor to do that, he has to build capacity to get that capacity. So now he's interested in building capacity for long-term sources of fund. That is why in his step, he brought in the Bank of Industry branch, which is one of the long-term sources of fund into Akwa Ibom State, so that if he is able to give you a startup capital, for instance, if government like is giving grants, 500,000 naira grants, it may not be enough, but with that, the Development Bank of Industry can add more money to you, because there's one principle: money attracts money. When government takes a certain risk, it reduces the risk. Now private sector can now add, or government agency can now add to reduce. The more you reduce the risk, be clouding a particular venture, the more you invite less risk sources to come in. So that's one way of doing it. So in that regard, His Excellency have analyzed that, and that is why he brought in that branch of the bank to come and assist entrepreneurs in the state. But like I said, the bank is still declaring with challenges. For instance, I know generally in Nigeria, Fiscal Responsibility Act, the statutory period of medium-term expenditure framework is 3 years. But that is not good. That is not good with our level of economic development. You see, even in the overseas economy, you see they give that medium-term expenditure framework 3 years. That 3 years has a lot of meaning in the economy. It means timing of allocation of fund in economy. That's another meaning to it. So when you are timing allocation of fund in at individual level, it means how funds should be exchanging hands. You understand? It's also in the private sector, it means when the standard period to time cash flow in economy. So, but that is inconsistent in some cases, like in agricultural sector in Akwa Ibom State we want to develop. Agricultural sector needs a timing from 7 years upward for you to recoup anything you are putting in there. If you go with agriculture with 3 years mentality, it's not because you sell and make profit you think profit of 1 year or 3 years cannot recoup investment completely, cannot completely recoup investment with a returns. Do you understand? So, but if you check 7 years, some of the analysis I used to do, you check 7 years, you can recoup investment and have a return.
Okay. Let's look at what Akwa Ibom people should do to take advantage of this policy and program the government has brought in. What should Akwa Ibom people do?
Okay, one of these is that training, the Ibom Lead training, 800 youth that have been trained in different skills and in different profession. That is one thing. You need to get a valid business idea. You need to launch your business. You need to expand the one you need to do. And you need to train yourself on financial management skills. That's very important, not just business skill. You need to understand a little of accounting, a little of income statements, a little of balance sheets, a little of fund flow analysis. You need to understand financial management and how to make financial plan. You understand? Because a lot of stumbling block, you might know business, but you don't know financial management. Bank will not want to work with you. You have to have, every entrepreneur must have capacity for financial management capabilities. You don't manage money your way. You manage money through the standard. There are standards for financial management. Try and know them. You understand? So when you know them, you are good to go with financial industry. In fact, that skill will build a lot of relationship across financial institutions. So what I implore Akwa Ibom entrepreneurs, go for training on accounting, how to keep simple books of business. Some people will run a business without bank account. Some people will run a business without reconciling what they do in 30 days. You cannot even have history of your progress in business. For a financial institution to give you money, they have to look at what you history, turnover, what you have done. Those histories are very important. Even when you get broke, your history can recapitalize you. Because your history will show your experience and your skill. Most people part money on experience. He has already been in the industry. He knows what to do. He has been able to kept his book very well. He can manage this money. Because one thing in money, you might know the business, but you cannot manage money.
Okay. Thank you.